Vice President JD Vance has postponed his trip to Switzerland. He was headed there for talks with Iran, Qatar and Pakistan. Retired four-star General Jack Keane joining me now. All right, General, what's the significance of this delay?
Well, I think the delay is really driven by the Iranians, who are not going to meet with us. And the reason is simply they're taking objections to Israel's retaliation against Hezbollah for the attacks that Hezbollah has been conducting into northern Israel. And frankly, where the Iranians are coming from, a strategy that they're unveiling, and they've been working on this for some time, is drive a wedge between the United States and Israel over the Hezbollah issue. And we cannot let that happen. I mean, so our audience understands the major lesson learned from the Israeli perspective of October the 7th is they can never again permit proxies on their border to build capability to attack them. They let that happen with Hamas, and they let it happen with Hezbollah. October the 7th, Hamas attacked in a surprise attack that killed 1,200 of their citizens. And they didn't see and also ignored some of the capability that Hamas was building. On October the 8th, Hezbollah attacked, and their resources in southern Lebanon were significant. And so what has happened since that time, Israel has absorbed that major lesson. They're not going to permit that to happen. Look what Hezbollah has done. Under the ceasefire since April the 17th, and under the MOU that both presidents have signed, they have violated the ceasefire in the last 24 hours. And since April the 17th, 2,000 rockets and drones fired into northern Israel, the purpose of which is certainly to put huge pressure on Israeli citizens. And the objective Iran has always had is destroy the state of Israel. If they had a nuclear weapon, that's a possibility. But the realistic possibility is that forcing the Israeli citizens to make a decision. Do I really want to live in a country where the security situation is so volatile and so dynamic? That's what October the 7th was all about. They know they can't physically destroy the country except with a nuclear weapon, and they know they can't physically defeat the Israeli military. It's not possible. But they can motivate citizens to leave the country because it's such a dangerous situation. So what's happened? In northern Israel today, as we are talking right now, none of the towns and villages are occupied. The people have vacated it. They're with families or in hotels. Kids aren't going to school. So that is a step towards the right direction that Iran is trying to achieve using Hezbollah here. Israel has every right to respond and respond strongly against that. And we should be supporting them and don't create any distance. I would hope that in the near future here we make a public statement that recognizes Israel's right to continue to respond to Hezbollah's violations of the ceasefire and Iran's backing of Hezbollah in doing just that.
The Iranians still have missiles. Listen to what Vice President Vance had to say about Iran's missile capabilities. Roll tape, please.
What matters much more is the number of launchers they have, and importantly, the teams on the ground that have the capacity to launch those missiles. Their ability to launch missiles has been substantially degraded. Is it zero? No, but it's substantially degraded, and in that sense, we haven't abandoned the mission. We've accomplished that particular part of the mission. If you look at the Gulf Arab allies, and obviously the Israelis who faced a lot, the two of them together faced a brunt of these missile attacks, each of them feels substantially safer today from the Iranian missile threat than they did before. Obviously, that is something that we would like to continue.
If the Iranians have missiles, they can use those missiles against Gulf neighbors, against Israel. They can use it against ships in the Gulf. Isn't this a weakness of the deal, that they still have missiles after the peace?
Well, remember, we shut down the operation after 4 to 5 weeks. We had 25% of the targets to go, and some of those were certainly ballistic missiles. So our audience understands the Iranians, after the 12-day war last June, they buried their ballistic missiles in tunnels deep under the ground where we can't penetrate. So what did we do? We rubbled the entrances so they couldn't get the missiles out. Obviously, they already had some missiles out. They already had some launchers. And since the 2 months of the ceasefire, what have they been doing? They've been going back, excavating, and we're watching all of this, and pulling those missiles and launch systems out and putting them around the country. They got somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,000 ballistic missiles left. That's not insignificant.
Right.
And certainly I disagree a little bit. One of the reasons why we have moved away from military operations and embraced the economic objectives and fearing a worldwide depression, which helped us move to that economic objectives. The economic advisors landed that thought process with the president, is because the Arab states fear the retaliation of Iran and military operations to attack their oil and Gulf infrastructure. They discount the fact of what we could do to prevent that from being effective, both defensively and offensively, by destroying those missiles, because we know where they are. But nonetheless, that factor is the reason why we're on the path that we're on. So let's not dismiss the fear that the Arab states have here. It's very real, and they know that threat is still out there.
Yes, we do.
And that's something we have to deal with. It's not in the MOU. It doesn't get mentioned. But I know as we move to a final deal, it's got to be center along, obviously nuclear will be one, ballistic missiles will be the other, and other offensive capability and support for proxies will be
General,
another
I'm terribly sorry. I'm running up against a hard break and I've got to go. But look, thanks very much for being with us today.
You got
I know
it.
we'll see you soon. Thank you, sir.